So, more, shall we say, bad news for the Brexiteers. Nearly a quarter of Scottish engineering firms risk staff losses due to Brexit. Yep. So this is from Reuters in Edinburgh. Literally, this came up about 36 minutes ago. Almost 1/4 of Scottish engineering and manufacturing firms have lost or are at risk of losing staff because of Britain's decision to leave the European Union, a survey published on Wednesday found, well, today. The poll by accountant Henderson Logie also found that 3/4 of firms surveyed had problems recruiting staff with the right skills. This is a big problem we've had, and it hasn't been addressed because, as I've said for the longest time, this government, the past government, even successive government, just have not bothered to really place any amount of genuine, actual infrastructure or investment into education, businesses, or anything like that. It just hasn't been a priority for any government. Immigration is one of the thorniest issues in Britain's Brexit negotiations, and many of those who voted to leave were concerned about high levels of EU workers arriving. A leaked document last week showing that Britain was considering measures to restrict immigration for all but the highest skilled EU workers raised heckles at British companies. Another fact about that to mention is that Theresa May also sent a letter around the top 100 FTSE companies based in the UK asking her to sign this letter to say that they supported Brexit. Out of about 100 companies it was sent to, not a single one signed it and told her to do one. So, yeah. Who was saying Brexit was a good idea? Yeah, the top 100 companies don't think it's a good idea. Anyway, we'll continue with this. Immigration is a particularly sensitive issue in Scotland, where population decline, a source of concern for decades, has been reversed in recent years by young migrants arriving from the EU and settling. A poll of 50 firms in Scotland and a 460 across the UK carried out in June and July found that 84% of firms expected production costs to rise and cited Brexit as concerns as a barrier to growth. Now, these stories just can keep on coming, and I'm just going to keep on reporting on them. And as usual, you're going to get the same people going, "Brr, you traitor." These are the facts, and people are just ignoring the facts, and that's the sad thing about this whole situation. A survey found that 23% of the businesses have lost... Oh no. Oh, yeah. Yep. The sector continues to have difficulty recruiting staff with relevant skills, the pressure on which is likely to increase as some businesses are at risk of losing staff due to Brexit, said Glavin Back, partner at Henderson Logic Manufacturing Group. The survey found that 23% of businesses have lost or are at risk of losing staff because of Brexit due to uncertainty over post-Brexit EU workers' rights. And a drop in the value of the pound, which we've already discovered. It already has claimed one company in the UK, which we reported on last week. And this is it's just going to get worse. Reality, as I've already said, a while ago, is already starting to kick in, and people are just ignoring it and just going, la 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 la, I'll put my fingers in my ears and hands over my eyes and just, hope something good happens. A British trade survey conducted between March and May found nearly half of businesses operating in the food supply chain said EU workers were thinking about leaving because of uncertainty around Brexit. Britain relies on a massive amount of EU workforce, unskilled EU workforce as well as highly skilled. It doesn't matter if you just decide, oh, we're going to get the highly skilled in, and we haven't even started to comment on about the EU workers that work, for example, as doctors or nurses in the NHS, which, by the way, would be included in this skills gap. So it's going to affect the NHS as well. So it's going to affect, medical care for hundreds of thousands of people. I'm still waiting for, people to actually give me a logical response as to how this is actually going to be sorted out. So if you're just going to, sit there and call me a traitor or whatever, I'm just not going to bother with you, because there's no point engaging with you. So we'll see what we get, but I'm not expecting a lot, to be honest. But yet more bad news for the Brexiteers that I will just continue to ignore.